Hello YouTubians. I had about an hour or so to work on this speaker last night, so I wanted to show you guys what I did. As you probably remember, there were several spots where there was issues with the speaker. Upon closer inspection, I had discovered that the spider here in the middle was split here and here. Let's see if I can get a close-up of that one. So consequently, that was also helping to pull the cone out of the way, and which is why it was at the time it was still rubbing. And actually it rubs a little bit in this angle now, but it's a lot better. So what I had to do was first I went ahead and I used some GC service cement, which used to be called radio service cement, by the way, and I don't know if you can read that right there, but it even says speaker cone repair. This stuff dries pretty much kind of an amber color, but mostly clear, but it's also very rigid. So I used it to glue these pieces back together, and I had a kind of a hard time getting the pieces to stick together without having to hold it forever, but I managed with a couple of these toothpicks acting as little baby chopsticks to be able to get them to stay together long enough to get tacky. They didn't come out perfect, but the speaker isn't rubbing, at least it isn't rubbing when it's in the proper position. I'll show you that in a minute. So what I did here for these tears was, you know, in the old days they used to use paper towels or coffee filters to do patches, but because this was in the flexible area, I didn't want to use the service cement because it dries pretty hard. It's still flexible and it's vibration resistant, but it's pretty hard. So what I had to use was I used some liquid tape. Read about using liquid tape in speaker cone repair, oh gosh, I'm going to date myself here, but probably about 25 years ago. I can't remember what magazine it was in, but they used liquid tape. They also used the GC service cement. This has been around for probably as long as these radios have been around. The other company, there's another company called MG. I'm sure we're all familiar with MG Electronics. They make a black version of this, which actually, once it's dry, resembles, at least flexibility-wise, liquid tape. The one nice thing about the MG is that it's not quite as thick as liquid tape, because this is a little bit tedious to work with, but you know, it's speaker repair, so you should be very patient. It's not that difficult. But what I'd used instead, nowadays we have, thank you Bounce for dryer sheets. These things are really tough. This one was used, but you know, you got it used in the dryer. You don't want to use this when it's got all the perfumey crap on it. So I even actually washed this, you know, washed it up and rinsed it off with, I actually used laundry detergent and then let it dry out on the towel rack. So what I did was I would cut a little square of this out, take the liquid tape, and I would brush it along right in here. Let's get you in here. Brushed it right into the little crack a little bit. And then I used a round toothpick. I mean, you can use whatever you want, but I just have these fancy toothpicks. Then what I would do is I work it into the corner, or into the seam, like so. What I discovered last night while doing this was if you let this harden just a little bit in the seam here, and then go ahead and move outwards, brushing once it's in there anyway, brushing it out this way. I'm left-handed, so I keep automatically grabbing that one. Then you want to go ahead and smooth this out. you might want to let it dry just a little bit while it's in the crack molded here, because what I discovered was if I didn't leave it long enough, when I would go ahead and be brushing it, it would try to come up flush, and that kind of ruins the whole point. So I managed to get it done. It took a little over an hour, and as I said, it is a little tedious, but you know, patience. So it turned out pretty good. These were my first two patches there, which they look fine, and it works, so that's all. The subsequent ones I did look a lot better once I figured out how, if you just hold it in there, because these ones got a little goopy, but it's still quite flexible, as you can see. What I just wanted to show you, I ran this experiment the other day. So I just folded up this piece of paper just to see how flexible it would be after it dries. You can see with the liquid tape, it's a little tougher, but it still moves. This is the service cement here, and it doesn't want to flex. I mean, it flexes, but it's tough. So I didn't want to use that in this area here, because I was afraid that I would just lose all bass response and it would sound like a pocket radio or something. So the voice coil does not rub anymore. Sometimes I can get it to rub here on the top when it's in this position, but it's not scraping anymore. But the most important part is that the speaker sits this way in the cabinet, and most importantly is it does not rub anymore. The voice coil doesn't rub. Now if the voice coil was still to rub, this takes a little bit of practice and work, but if the voice coil is rubbing, say, let's see if I can get it to rub. There we go. So if the voice coil is rubbing over here, which I'm purposely making it do that, what I discovered was if you just gently pull from different angles until you figure out where it wants to be centered and it doesn't push anymore, you can actually take a Q-tip and some water and rub it on the side where it wants to, the direction you want to pull it in, and wet the cone. When the water dries, or when the water evaporates, it'll tend to cause the cone to pull towards the direction that you were in, that you want it to go in. And this tends to work pretty well. I picked this up on an Antique Radio Forum a couple years ago. But I think it might be okay. I can't test it yet, of course, because I haven't ordered my grommets and the radio's not together yet. But I also wanted to point out that it cleaned up really nice. And I'm not even going to paint this. It still has most of the coating on it, so I'm going to leave it. I don't want to tape it all up and paint it up. I got the paper glued in the cap here, so doing pretty good. So I just wanted to give you guys an update and show you what I did with the speaker, and I guess we'll find out maybe next week if it works. Another thing I happened to notice is, I don't know if you guys had noticed or not, but I have this Heathkit what the hell is it? SG-8 signal generator. It's pretty old. And normally I use this for alignment. It works pretty good, but every once in a while it gives me some grief. Well, I decided to test it yesterday, and it's given me grief again. So I may replace it with a modern solid state one. I've read kind of mixed reviews about. There's a couple of them available. I think they're all made by the same company, but they all look the same. So I'm going to look into that. One of the guys at our local radio club uses one and said that it was, it was good. This one does, it's off by about 10 kilohertz, but it's consistent across the dial, all the way up to, all the way up to number E. I'm able to, again, but the problem I'm having here is that the RF output is no longer working. I'm not sure why. The RF output switch just it does nothing anymore. And the only way I can get any signal is taking the RF steps all the way up to high, and it's too low. The output's just too low. So I guess this will become another project. But I wanted to give you guys an update, and if I have to replace this, then I'll have to buy one in the next couple of weeks, which kind of sucks because, you know, it's a couple $100 I could be using on a new radio. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and I will talk to you guys later on. Have a good one.